Welcome, everyone. I now call the June 2nd, 2026 regular City Council meeting to order. We will take a moment to take a roll call of the council members by position number. Please say here when the city clerk calls your name.
Thank you. Councilmember Angulari.
Here.
Mayor Thompson.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Aldrich.
Here.
Councilmember Curd.
Here.
Councilmember Miles.
Here.
Councilmember Dodd.
Here.
Councilmember Alcabra.
Here.
All present.
Thank you. We're going to move on to meeting agenda approval. City Manager Standard is going to review the agenda.
Well, thank you very much, and good evening, everyone. Let me just pull up really quick some speaking points. But in tonight's meeting, we have one proclamation tonight. So welcome to the multiple partners that we have who have joined us for the proclamation for the month of June. And then in addition, what I wanted to note for council and for those who are watching, we have two public hearings tonight. It's been a while since we've had a public hearing. And so just as a reminder, there will be no action sought tonight for those public hearings. Council has heard on the topics, both of them pretty recently, one of them being about zoning map updates and the other one being the transportation facilities plan. And no actions being sought. They'll be coming back to council for action on June 16th. We also have a number of items on consent, and they're very much reflective of the operations of the city. We'll have a number of sidewalk projects being approved, some purchases of water meters and sewer monitors, but as well as there will also be a contract for maintenance of the Pioneer Cemetery. So just a reminder of the many, many things that the city of Bothell does. I wanted to also note that there's one study session tonight on parking management. That is the item that was postponed from our May meeting that went a little bit long, so it might look familiar to you. And with that, we also then have two items for presentation and action. One of them related to the purchase of a second downtown parcel of piece of property, as well as further direction being sought on annexation into the Shoreline Regional Fire Authority. So those are the things we'll be covering tonight, and I'll turn it back over to council for approval.
Thank you. Council, are there any changes proposed to tonight's agenda? Seeing none, we'll move on to public engagement opportunities. We have Pride in the Park. You can celebrate Pride Month with us at Pride in the Park. All are welcome at this free, family-friendly event with activities for all ages, including music, crafts, resources, and more. That's Saturday, June 13th from 1 to 4 p.m. at the park at Bothell Landing. Help shape Bothell's housing plan. Bothell's Housing Action Plan ensures we can meet current and future housing needs for all. Shaped by community input, the draft plan is now ready for review. Check it out and share your feedback by August 31st, 2026. Pet Fair and free vaccines. Bothell's Pet Fair offers free vaccines, pet licenses, and microchips, as well as resources, giveaways, and more while supplies last. All are welcome. Please have your pets leashed or in a carrier. That's Friday, June 12th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. right across the street at the Bothell Police Department. We have one proclamation today for 2S LGBTQIA plus Pride Month, and Deputy Mayor Aldrich is going to read that proclamation.
Thank you, Mayor. Whereas the City of Bothell recognizes the month of June 2026 as 2S LGBTQIA plus Pride Month and honors the generations of two-spirit, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, intersex, and asexual people whose advocacy, resilience, and courage have advanced dignity, visibility, and human rights for all. And whereas the histories of 2S LGBTQIA plus people are deeply woven into the history of Washington State and the Pacific Northwest, including the longstanding presence and contributions of Indigenous Two-Spirit people, whose roles have historically included leadership, caregiving, artistry, healing, and cultural stewardship. And whereas Pride Month traces its roots to movements led by BIPOC, queer, and transgender community members who resisted discrimination, criminalization, violence, and systemic exclusion, and continues to serve as both a celebration and a call towards equity and justice. And whereas, though the 2S LGBTQIA plus community continues to be a target of violence, harassment, and discrimination, it continues to thrive through efforts of the community itself and through the support of affirming spaces, community organizations, advocates, and community members' commitment to actively support and advocate not only for their rights, but for their very existence in this world. And whereas the City of Bothell recognizes that supporting the 2S LGBTQIA+ community requires ongoing action, accountability, and a year-round commitment to actively support and advocate for the rights and lives of 2S LGBTQIA+ individuals. And whereas Pride Month provides an opportunity to celebrate and continue learning about the contributions, leadership, culture, and lived experiences of 2S LGBTQIA+ community members in Bothell and in the region beyond Bothell's borders, while recommitting ourselves to equity, visibility, and collective care. And whereas the City of Bothell continues to take steps in collaboration with our 2S LGBTQIA+ community members to support inclusion and visibility through the raising of the Progress Pride flag throughout the city and through the adoption of its resolution affirming Bothell as a welcoming community for transgender, non-binary, and gender-diverse people, and committing to proactive protections for the civil rights, safety, and well-being of 2S LGBTQIA+ individuals. Now, therefore, I, Jenny Alderks, on behalf of Mason Thompson, Mayor of the City of Bothell, do hereby proclaim June 2026 as 2S LGBTQIA+ Pride Month in the City of Bothell and encourage all in the Bothell community to celebrate 2S LGBTQIA+ family, friends, and community members and actively speak out against homophobic and transphobic rhetoric, hate, and discrimination in all forms.
And I believe we have some community members here to accept.
Thank you so much. Thank you for reading that. You're over here. Thank you for. Hello. I first off wanted to say thank you for this opportunity to say a few words about Pride Month in our community, and I wanted to also thank Pride Across the Bridge for this opportunity. I'm a volunteer with them. I'm also a member of the queer community. My community, I have many loved ones who are transgender, non-binary in particular, and have lots of feelings right now, which I will do my best to convey. I've been thinking about these words for literal weeks, because, thank you. We are in a critical time of our lives, and some of us are literally fighting for our lives. And sorry, trying really hard to keep it together, because I want you to hear my words, which are thank you for this. Thank you for this proclamation, for acknowledging us, acknowledging our existence, being there for us as a city. It means a whole lot to me, and to this community. I feel that I can say that. I moved from Utah to Washington just a few years ago, and didn't know anyone here, so I sought out the queer community, and Pride Across the Bridge has been amazing in giving me and my family paid opportunities to perform. I'm an artist, a musician, so not only supporting us with community, but also financially supporting us as well and giving us opportunities to grow. That is what I would ask of this city to do, is to give those of us in the queer community more opportunities to be visible outside of just Pride Month. This is our lives we're talking about. This is our everyday. So I think if we can do that as a city, that would be really amazing. So that's one of the points I wanted to make. Another thing is having community, more opportunities like this. If there's a safe place for people to share their thoughts about how to improve and support the community, I feel like they will speak. I've literally never been to a town council meeting, and my first time ever. This is so great, and I feel like if we are able to show people in the queer community, maybe even have them sit down with each of you, give that opportunity. I feel like there would be really great opportunities for more community feedback and growth together. So I would love to see that as a member of this community and a member of the city that also works in Bothell as well. And I think all of the improvements to everyday living, that's one thing. I was talking to my coworkers, because I work in Bothell, like I was saying as well, and when you're dealing with so much on a mental level, it's hard enough just getting out of bed, and going to work and trying to live a normal life. We all live in this society, right? So doing things like improving the public transportation system, for example, or doing things for our minority communities, like our low-income communities, I think it helps everybody, and also it helps those of us in the queer community. Like my coworker was saying, she has to walk 30 minutes to get to a bus stop, and then the bus passes sometimes. And I said, do you think that's because of your gender presentation? And she was like, no, I think it's because the bus system could be improved, So I think thinking outside of the box and asking the community what we need is something I would really love to see more of from this city and from this council. My last point today is just about people, especially transgender people. I've talked to so many people right now who are fleeing their states because they're unsafe, they're targeted. Bothell is a sanctuary already. Bothell is a safe haven. Just walk outside your door, you will find somebody in our community that lives here, that works here, that exists here. And there are more coming, and I just want us to be prepared for that and to continue to be supportive and welcoming, which the city is already doing. I feel like we can do more to support. And so those are my words. I will stop talking now. Thank you for listening. Really appreciate you all, and I hope that we can have more of this collaboration and support all together in the future. So thank you.
And thank you for coming here to accept. Would you and any other members of the community like to grab a picture with council?
Yeah?
Is that a yes? Oh, we have one more. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Picture, yeah.
What we'll do is if our council members come down the aisle,
I didn't know if you wanted support next to you or anything. I just didn't.
I appreciate it. What's your shirt? This is so pretty.
We're going to go outside. Follow Gabby.
Yeah, one day this week. Enjoy it.
All right, welcome back. I guess I don't know why I'm saying welcome back. We were the ones that were gone, but here we are. Thanks. Thank you for welcoming me back. Next up is public comment. The city has accepted public comment in writing as well as accepted signups for those who wish to speak at tonight's meeting. Written comments submitted to the city clerk no later than 3 p.m. today were forwarded to all city council members and are part of the record. When the clerk calls your name, you'll have 3 minutes to speak. Please note that council will receive your input, but we do not engage in discussion of these topics. Staff will make note of items requiring follow-up. City clerk?
Thank you, Mayor Thompson. We do not have anybody who's signed up to speak this evening. However, I do have several members of the audience who do wish to speak. So if you could please, one at a time, step up to the podium, state your name for the record. You will have 3 minutes.
Thank you very much. My name is Amy Baker. Okay. All right. Good evening. I'm Amy Baker. I serve as the Senior Program Manager at Kindering Bothell. Kindering is a nonprofit that serves thousands of children and families each year, including around 500 from Bothell. Thank you for your partnership. Our programs align with Bothell's human service priorities. As your 2024 Needs Assessment Survey indicates, child care access is top priority for parents. Unfortunately, child care can be both expensive and inequitable, with high rates of expulsion for children of color and children with disabilities. Kindering's Child Care and Preschool Consultation Program, or CCPC, counters this by partnering with providers to build more inclusive environments. This program is offered at no cost to families. For example, one child care provider came to us overwhelmed by a child whose behaviors created serious safety concerns, such as running out of class and climbing on shelves. Our child care and preschool consultants worked with the teachers to adjust the environment to support the child's sensory needs. The director shared that our support was, and I quote, extremely valuable, and the child became more at ease and safe in the environment. Last year, 96% of children served through our child care and preschool consultation program avoided expulsion from their child care setting. In addition, our consultants provide trainings that strengthen the child care workforce that families rely on. We also recognize housing instability as a major concern. Through our Families in Transition program, or FIT, we serve families experiencing homelessness, domestic violence, immigration-related stress, and other hardships. We provide developmental evaluations, pediatric therapies, case management, and connections to basic needs like diapers, housing, and food. One Bothell family shared that they never felt judged while receiving Kindering services as they navigated the child welfare system, and said Kindering had just been amazing for their family. Through our partnership with KidVantage, we supported about 100 families last year at our Bothell campus with essentials like diapers and baby formula. Last year, 88% of FIT's children made measurable progress toward their developmental goals. In closing, thank you. Thank you for helping us provide these services to support families navigating housing instability, immigration challenges, and child care issues. We hope to continue this partnership in the future.
What a pro. Like, I mean, finished under the button. Like, that was amazing.
Thank you. Anybody else wishes to speak, please step to the podium, state your name for the record.
Hello, my name is Erica Hort. Hello, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, Council members, and staff. Like I said, my name is Erica Hort. I'm the Director of Community and Partnerships with a nonprofit by the name of Americans for Equality. I've been involved with the nonprofit for about 2 years. I went through our program as a student and then on through a Salesforce bootcamp and our internship program. And then I was hired on as an employee with the organization. Americans for Equality was founded in 2019. It was originally created to bridge the gap between high growth careers and residents. Soon what we found was that not everybody wants to be in tech, but everybody does want to use technology to be able to advance their daily lives. We serve residents between 22 cities from Washington to Oregon. 9 of those at the moment are from the city of Bothell. Our first location was in the New Beginnings Church in Kent. And so a lot of our participants came via word of mouth through different churches. And so we're trying to switch our focus to be able to expand into this area. And with your help, we hope to help at least 205 individuals in 2027. We ask for the city's partnership, and also if you have any suggestions on other nonprofits that are already doing the work in the area that we can partner with. Our internship program is located in Bellevue. We host about 40 interns with that program. Our program was built on a $2.2 million congressional funds from Senator Patty Murray, where we were able to develop 20 proprietary courses. We were able to purchase about 400 laptops that supported our students within our 3 programs, one of which supports resume writing and interview skills and helping individuals with just kind of career navigation. The other helps with technical and non-technical professional skills. And our final program, as I said, the internship program, gives individuals real-world job experience, because in our market right now, it's a little hard to find a job with no experience. So that was the gap that we were trying to bridge. Our programs are absolutely free. They're open to all who would love an opportunity to grow and change the trajectory of their lives. And we just want to be able to help as many people as we can. I came to the program just kind of at a crossroad, facing housing instability, financial instability, and this program has changed my life 100%, and I get great value from being able to help others just like me. And I thank you all so much for your time and for allowing me to speak about this amazing organization. Thank you. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you. Next up, and while we're waiting for the next person, I will say, if anybody's online and wishes to speak, please use the raise hand function and we'll panel you in after we have our in-person. Thank you. Go ahead, sir.
Good evening. My name's John Combs. I'm a almost 30-year Bothell resident. I've spoken to council before, so I always appreciate the opportunity. Usually it's on something very contentious like zoning or something else. But tonight I wanted to thank you for recognizing Pride Month. It genuinely matters. When our city publicly affirms the dignity and visibility of LGBTQ+ residents, it sends a powerful message of safety, belonging, and respect. That recognition doesn't just uplift LGBTQ+ community members, it strengthens the well-being of their families, friends, allies who want to see their loved ones valued and protected. Your commitment helps make our community more welcoming, more compassionate, more connected. Thank you for choosing inclusion and for celebrating the diversity that makes our city stronger. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council City members. My name is Juan Uribe, AI Program Managers with Americans for Equality. As you guys have heard, we are serving and representing the underserved community. We go ahead and have 3 pillars, one of them being the mentorship program, covering resume writing and interview prep, something that a lot of people have went ahead and benefited from. We've go ahead and serviced over 1,100 people in that area. We also have the non-technical and technical route, which I had the privilege and honor of being a part of over a 12-week course last July of 2025. As you guys heard, it was a 12-week program that I had the ability to go ahead and leverage on Saturdays, which is an opportunity that we don't typically see out of the ordinary, especially for the free. I was in a position where I was stuck at my 9-to-5 and I didn't find a route to go back into the technical world through a college route due to expenses and time frame. It's a burden that a lot of people do struggle with, and having that support system for free and that ability to learn from industry experts on a Saturday morning has allowed me to go ahead and receive 2 promotions at my 9-to-5 job through the ability and technical skills learned at this nonprofit. This is something that we're seeing is in need of the community, especially in a time right now when summer is right around the corner. a lot of high school graduates, a lot of people going into college need that real life world experience, and that is something that we will go ahead and offer, not by just going ahead and providing those skills to people, but allowing the service and the platform for them to go ahead and apply them to real world projects, which we have found extreme success in. Now we're here today in front of the city of Bothell to go ahead and collaborate, find a way to expand this program through Bothell, because we spend $0 on marketing. We don't have money to spend on marketing, so everything is word of mouth. Probably the reason why you guys haven't heard too much about For Americans for Equality, but we're here because we want to go ahead and make a positive change in the city of Bothell, and I do appreciate all your guys' time, commitment, and responsibilities that you guys go ahead and cherish towards the city of Bothell. So whenever you guys have time, we would love to go ahead and collaborate, expand on some ideas, to go ahead and bring our resources to your community. Once again, Mayor and Council City members, thank you guys for your time and service.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak? Go ahead.
Hello, Mayor, council members. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for providing us this opportunity. My name is Melvin Pretlow. Excuse me. I'm an AI data analyst and mentor at Americans for Equality. As you've learned, Americans for Equality is a nonprofit based out of Bellevue. I'm not going to rehash all of that, but I will give my personal experience with the program. I am a 7-year resident of the city of Bothell. I love this city. My kids love this city. If I can, I would never move. And we really hope to stay for a long time. A few years ago, after my second daughter was born, took some time off to go and spend with her, came back to a pretty difficult job market. And I mean, the only thing worse than not having any experience is having a long layoff in between experiences. So I was really at a crossroads career-wise, really didn't know what I wanted to do. And then I discovered Americans for Equality and the programs that they had offered. They offered 12 weeks of tech training by industry veterans, business owners in the area, and it was all for free. And for someone who was out of work for, by that point in time, it was probably a year or so. You know, you want to upskill, but it's hard to do that and also put food on the table for your family. So I was really grateful for the opportunity there. From there, I actually moved into an internship program with Americans for Equality, providing opportunities to keep my skills sharp, add different projects that I could put on my resume and really have something tangible to speak to in interviews. I've loved my time there. I'm still part of this program, but I recently left because I got a full-time position. And I don't think I would have been able to do that without some of the skills that I have had, some of the skills I have gained with Americans for Equality. It's been a wonderful program, and I just want to ask for your support. I'm living proof that the program works, and you know, we would love to collaborate going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak? Please step to the podium, state your name.
Hi. Okay, there we go. My name is John Van Enkevoort. I'm also with Americans for Equality. I'm a new intern. I'm an AI developer lead. I recently graduated with a bachelor's in computer science this April, and I'm a longtime Kirkland resident. So Bothell has been a significant part of my life. This would be over 15 years now, but I swam for the Inglemore Vikings at what's now the McMenamins Lagoon. I used to take art classes at the old country village, and the ranch is still here, but the old chicken is gone. So Bothell is changing, and the job market has changed significantly. I pursued a degree in computer science and studying software development with the hope that I would be able to continue to afford living here. And what I've found, and a lot of other graduates in my position, is that we are hitting a wall with the industry where without years of experience, we're not able to get like low-level entry positions so that we can then get the years of experience to be able to get those positions. And at this organization, I'm able to lead a team of developers, which is just not something that I would be able to do anywhere else. And I'm working on a platform to then be able to help educate other people with a free education platform. So the job market is dark. At Americans for Equality, we're seeking the light, and we're hoping that we can share it through a partnership with the City of Bothell. Thank you for your time.
Good evening, Mayor and Council, City staff. My name is Arlena Yazzie, and I am a very new resident to the City of Bothell and to this state. I have been a resident now for 3 weeks, and I've visited the community a number of times to see my family here. I'm coming from Southwest Colorado, and it's a very different atmosphere. It's very green here, whereas the Southwest is very dry and humid, and or not dry, not humid, very dry. It's very humid here. But I just wanted to commend the city staff, the values that you all are living by and the policy that you're implementing. It's been really amazing to be learning more about the city, exploring more, seeing the great amenities and assets that you all have here. And so I just wanted to give you all your flowers for that. And I've been feeling very welcome in coming here and settling in. So thank you all. I'm happy to be here in this community with you.
Thank you. That is, I believe, all I have for public comment, Mayor Thompson.
Thank you. Next up is the city manager report. City manager.
Thank you, Mayor, and good evening again, council members. One quick update, and then either I'll point you to an item in your packet tonight about council representation. Just wanted to share that I was able to participate today in a convening that was co-sponsored by the North Shore School District and Cascadia College, where they're getting an early look at enrollment rates and the correlation between that and birth rates in our country and in our region. So they pulled together a group of stakeholders, including the 3 cities within the district, representatives from Evergreen Health, from a development community, and as well as a few others, just to begin a conversation of seeing what trends look like as they relate to the school district and then as they might relate to other sectors. It was great to be able to share information about what the city of Bothell is doing in terms of, while we don't control the age of our residents, we can have an influence on what are the conditions that of what Bothell brings in terms of job targets, housing targets, and population. So I was able to share some of that feedback from the comprehensive plan work and from the good work of our staff, and look forward to a follow-up convening in October where we'll learn more. So today was really just to kick off and the school district sharing some of the demographics that they have about our district, and we'll look forward to more conversations to come. Next then is, as I mentioned in your packet, there are 2 opportunities for potential council representation that I wanted to put on your radar and see if we have, it may be easy decisions and we can take care of it tonight, or you might want to think about it a little bit. The one that is coming up and has its date certain is, as council knows, is part of the economic vitality plan. We have been hosting anchor employer roundtables. These are roundtable opportunities for some of our larger employers who don't necessarily come into orbit with the city in the day-to-day work. Through things like through the Chamber of Commerce. So in this opportunity, we have our next meeting coming up on June 16th, and we've put out invitations to a number of, again, these larger employers in the city. And in this case, we've heard interest from council members of potentially having interaction with our businesses. We're hoping to have interest from 1 to 2 council members to participate, mainly just in that we want to, it's always being conscious of not overstaffing. We look at that for meetings of not having more staff than members of the public. We also want to make sure we don't have more city representation than the business representation. So the meeting is scheduled for June 16th from 7:30 until 9 o'clock, and it'll be in the morning, and it'll be at Cascadia College in the Innovation Hall. So again, 1 to 2 people there. And then the second one is there's been a couple of conversations where the idea has come up about having a joint meeting with the city of Mill Creek. We've had a few updates on that in council, and I've been having communications with their city manager. What Mill Creek has proposed, they are considering some annexation plans, and so there's some timeliness to this. They also have very full agendas, as do we here in Bothell. So what they were proposing is if we could create an opportunity for 2 to 3 council representatives to meet, and they would be proposing that their mayor pro tem, city manager, and deputy city manager also participate, and we'd have a joint meeting. They're also considering some annexations towards the Linwood border, and so there's potential of Linwood representation at this meeting as well. No date or time has been scheduled for this yet, but what we figured we'd do is start with figuring out who might be interested, and then that gives us a better opportunity to figure out a date and time that works for everybody. So those are the 2 things for consideration. I'm also going to note something that's not in here, but just to put it on your radar, and we can talk about it next week, is that the Association of Washington Cities is having their conference, as you know, at the end of June. While nobody is available to attend the conference this year, there is always an annual meeting as well that takes place during the conference. In this case, it's an evening meeting. There is online attendance available, and it's on June 24th from 4 to 5:45. Each city can have 3 voting delegates. I will say in review of the agenda, there's nothing too pressing related to city business in terms of, I think it's pretty much a housekeeping update on campaign guidelines for board candidates, as well as voting on board candidates, and our region is not represented. So I wanted to put that on your radar in case anybody has a strong desire to be a voting delegate on a Zoom meeting for the Association of Washington Cities, but otherwise we may not speak of that one again. So with that, I'll turn it over to council to see if there's any interest in participating in either of the 2 events listed in your packet.
I would like to join, if my fellow council members allows, for the economic vitality.
Duly noted. Councilmember?
Same, please.
All right, if anybody else wants to speak now or forever hold your peace.
Yeah, I'm also raising my hand,
Okay.
but maybe we can, when there's a date, that might give us 2 of the 3.
For the economic vitality?
Yeah, not for AWC.
No, so the economic vitality meeting at the college with our large business operators is scheduled June 16th, 7:30 in the morning until 9 a.m.
I would like to withdraw.
As the mayor said, duly noted.
I'd be happy to attend the Mill Creek and potentially Linwood meeting.
From what I heard, it was the mayor and Mayor Pro Tem.
Mayor Pro Tem.
That's Mill Creek is special.
The things we do.
And so if it were, at a time when I could attend, if we could plan it that way, then I would also like to attend with the mayor. But that doesn't mean that it just has to be us. If there are other council members who wanted to also attend, I think it'd be really especially important to have one of our Snohomies representing with us.
I have been summoned. I'm happy to do it. I have a pretty clear schedule during the days, so whatever works out. It's not do or die for me, but I've also talked to some folks on the Mill Creek City Council at their request, so I'm happy to keep talking in a more formal way.
I'm also available, but don't prioritize date scheduling around me because although while I've brought this up a couple times, I'm kind of pushing for us to have the conversation with Mill Creek and other Snohomish County cities. I'm really just looking forward to raising the level of understanding on what annexation means and just getting background information. So I'm happy to receive meeting minutes or materials as well, just so that we can share those out to the rest of our team here.
And I'm happy to defer to my colleagues on that meeting as well.
All right, I think we got what we needed, and maybe what we'll do is poll all 4 of you for dates and times and then see what lands, and we'll go from there. So I appreciate it, and I think we got what we needed.
Fantastic. Next up is council reports and conversations. Councilmember Anguilari.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate the opportunity to provide a brief update on LTAC, and I'm seeking guidance from council tonight. Thank you, City Manager, for giving me this opportunity. So I'll take first 5 minutes. What I heard from City Manager, we have 20 minutes, and first 5 minutes I'll go through it. If you go to your email, because half of the information is got cut off in the slide, I just sent it to you all the email. You can open the email so that you have the information. So over the past 5 months, LTAC and city staff have reviewed Bothell's tourism funding structure and current tourism related contracts, survey feedback. We did a recent survey with the 9 hotels that we have, with the hotel managers and the LTAC recipients. And also spending models from peer cities, which you can see on your screen, because I need to open my laptop, just restarted. But I think I remember most of the information. Just give me a minute while my email is opening up, because I have that slide. Just give me a minute, please. I'm opening up my email, if you don't mind. No, I think I want you. Okay, so I got it. Thank you. Thank you. So if you see on the screen, I would like you guys to take a look at that. So the purpose of this work is to better understand how Bothell has been using lodging tax funds over the past several years, and how our strategy may need to evolve as we plan for 2027 and 2028. I also want to clarify my understanding of the roles here. LTAC is an advisory committee and makes recommendations. While, of course, most important thing is city staff is responsible for implementation and operations. Here, council has the responsibility to approve budgets, make final funding decisions, and set broader policy direction and priorities. That is the lane I hope we can focus on tonight. That is broader policy direction. Based on the materials reviewed by the LTAC, Bothell's current lodging tax model is more heavily weighted towards marketing and administrative support than many peer city examples that you see on your screen. So if you can see here, we have approximately 450,000. This year we gone down to 425, but last few years average is 450,000 in annual lodging tax from 9 hotels. Current allocations include approximately 215,000 with the tax for marketing, which is about 50% of our money on the table from LTAC, and 160,000 for administrative support, which is 35%, and $75,000 for facilities like visitor center and holiday lighting. So, and currently we do not have anything for events and grants at this moment based on last few years and including 2026. So at a high level, our current model appears to be approximately, based on what city staff presented to our LTAC committee, 80% is for marketing and administrative, and 20% is for facilities and lights. So at this moment, 0% that we are spending for events and grants. And also today I just met Ashish, Economic Vitality. He also mentioned a great survey that they have done from Economic Vitality. Businesses are also looking for more community events, and LTAC revenue, 70% of the revenue, LTAC revenue comes from hoteliers who stays for the corporates. So a lot of people who stay at our hotels are for corporates, just to let you know. So this raises an important policy question for council tonight. Should Bothell continue with the current spending model, or should we explore more balanced approach that includes visitor-focused activities such as events, festivals, grants, and exclusively marketing of those events tied more directly to overnight stays from visitors traveling 50 miles and more? One observation from the peer city comparison, as you see on your screen, several cities allocate more lodging tax revenue towards events, community events, festivals, facilities, and grant programs that create stronger reasons for visitors to come and stay overnight. Bothell currently has no LTAC allocation for events or grants. Hence, I do believe there should be a part of the discussion if our goal is to increase overnight stays and visitor impact. Another important question is Bothell's tourism identity. Bothell is not currently a traditional tourism destination city, but we do have important assets like McMillan's, University of Washington, Bothell, Cascadia College, downtown Bothell, and many more, that trails, forest, parks, restaurants, or whatnot. So we may have an opportunity to position Bothell as a bit of a strong regional base camp or overnight hub, but that requires a clear strategy from the council tonight. So I also want to acknowledge that LTAC conducted a recent survey with the Bothell hotels and LTAC recipients. I did not participate in that survey because I'm neither a hotel or from the recipient side. Based on the responses reviewed, there appears to be strong interest, focus on overnight stays, events, partner coordinations, and refresh tourism strategy. So every funding decision involves trade-offs, but that is exactly why council direction is important before we move too far into 2027 and 2028 planning for our LTAC. So tonight I'm asking how council is open to exploring more balanced, outcome-focused tourism strategy for Bothell. And I would like to see more organic events, more. It's not that we spend more on just my 2 cents, more on just digital marketing. Of course, more organic events. We are already doing a great job as a city, but I think we can do a different strategy, is what I'm thinking. So now I would now like to hear from fellow council members, and thank you for the opportunity, city's manager.
Real quick, Councilmember Miles, before we get too involved in this conversation, City Manager, we are, I believe, bringing back some things about LTAC through LTAC later this year, correct?
Councilmember Aguilari has requested to have a further discussion, and Council also has directed for the development of a new tourism strategy. So that will be as a council priority. So that'll be coming back. I think Councilmember Aguilari, in updating, the slides that he shared came from the May meeting. I think he's looking for to update council on what the discussion was, but also see if there's any feedback to bring back to the next LTAC meeting in June related to if there's any themes or areas that the council would hope that new strategy and response would include. Correct me if I'm wrong, Councilmember, but I think is that your question for tonight, is there anything that council would want to see different in the tourism strategy and allocation of LTAC funds?
Yeah, so Mayor Mason, we as a council can give direction how we wanted to spend it. We have 3 buckets: marketing, events, and facilities. So we as a council can give a direction to the LTAC committee, and LTAC committee, not LTAC committee itself, even the city staff. Yeah. City staff can execute it based on, let's say we have 400,000. Out of 400,000, do we want to spend all 400,000 on digital advertising, or do we want to spend 100,000 on the, so how do we want to see so that we means we as LTAC committee along with the city staff, how do we want it to distribute the funds?
100%. No, I understand that. It's just that I believe we're doing that through our tourism strategy later this year. And typically this is for, giving some broad big picture direction on what we might want to see. Usually if we're giving more firm direction, we would have a staff presentation sort of, like this, but maybe with a few more details that we have in the packet, and we'd be able to read it and ask questions about it before we come to the meeting. So I'm happy to kind of say some of the things, but I want to make sure we don't get too deep in the policy weeds here in this part. This is more for should we talk about something in the future? And that's why I asked, I believe that is coming back. So I'm sorry, Councilmember Miles, did you want to?
No, I just wanted to get more information. So I was just going to ask if we could have a study session, but if it's coming,
cool.
If it's coming back, that's fine. But I'd love a study session.
I would love to have a study session too, because there are a lot of questions and answers. So definitely, Yeah, but I would like to hear from city manager how, because when I asked last time city manager, he mentioned it takes 1 hour and we may not have a study session. So I need city council direction. Do we want a study session?
Councilmember Alcabra.
I would support more information because this one is the first time we look at this data. And as you are talking, I was thinking, it's like, what problem are we trying to solve, you know? It requires a lot more information, a lot more deeper discussion, which I don't think we can have right now in this particular agenda item.
Yeah, I'll say that I don't have a lot of information either, but looking at community events and grants that other cities about our size or who have the same amount of hotels or LTAC revenue, those are interesting. I want to know more. So looking forward to delving into this in the future. Thanks.
So city manager, how would you like to do, what do we want to do so that we can plan for it?
Well, what I'm hearing from council is that further discussion would be helpful. As LTAC, there is an LTAC committee that is advisory to the council. I believe they just received this information. You received this information as the chair at your May meeting. And from what I understand, the committee was looking to have further conversations. So I think let's let the committee process this a little bit and then maybe at your next meeting, see what questions they would like to ask the council for some direction, and then we could work on getting a study session. One of the things that is a limiter, and as Councilmember Aguilera mentioned with the timing of it, is as we look at agendas through the August recess, things are fairly full, but we will find a time to bring this back. I think, though, getting a little bit of framing and direction from the committee, there's that push-pull, right, of chicken or egg. Do you want to have council have the first cut at the information and then from what you learn tell LTAC what you're looking for, or do you want your advisory committee to chew on this a little bit and then give you some recommendations to respond to? So I think that probably creates the hinge of timing of when does this come to you. We can make either work, but I do know with the LTAC committee, there's 2 new members, I believe, who just joined in the May meeting, and so maybe giving them 1 or 2 more opportunities to have this discussion would help set up a council conversation, whether it be a study session or anything else.
Here is the challenge I would like to explain. So including me, we have new LTAC members. So there is a different approach that I'm hoping we can do it as a council. Once we have a study session, there were a lot of information was presented. I wanted 6 slides on your table, but we cannot speak more into details of 6 slides that were presented to the LTAC general meeting. We had a LTAC meeting last month. So there were 6 slides, but I would like our council to look into those. Even to look into those, right now, today, we don't have an opportunity. So what I'm asking is, if city council has more information that was looked into it, you guys can give a better direction. So the sooner we have a study session, so that you can look into it, we can ask questions, and we can dive into how you guys, how we as a council wanted to give a direction. Based on the direction, city staff will execute it, working with the other cities, checking with the other LTAC. Already we started that, and they will execute it. So the sooner you guys look into all those 6 slides, even the survey results, you don't have the survey results on the table. We already have the survey results right now. So that is ready to look into it. There is a lot of information ready to look into it. The sooner we have it, the earlier council can give a direction to the LTAC and to the city, especially the staff, so that we can execute it.
I'm wondering if I can ask a question, Councilmember Anguilari. Are you referring to the April 14th LTAC meeting where these slides were shared? May.
We had May 19th.
May, okay.
19th.
And so it looks like they're not yet up on the city YouTube, but it sounds like when they are up on the city YouTube, we'll be able to review them. And so, like, if I'm understanding what Councilmember Anguilari is saying, is that it sounds like you're encouraging us to review the slides and, like, listen to the meeting and have some thoughts so that when we do have a study session that we are kind of up to date and informed on the happenings of LTAC and can have conversations about that. Does that sound about right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And provide the direction how we want to distribute the funds, because we as a council can can clearly give the direction on the budgeting once you understand information, and then we can go back, hey, we need $100,000 contract for digital advertising, for example, or $100,000 for LTAC grants or events, or $100,000 for facilities. Then we as a LTAC committee and the city staff will make that happen for the city.
Oh yeah, like when we have information, like that's what we're all good at, is having opinions on things. So we will definitely have opinions when the information comes to us on council, and you know, it's always something that we can do as council members is to stay informed of what our boards and commissions are doing. And so it's helpful to have, you know, council members who are on those committees to come back and share like a report of like how things are going and what you're covering. And I'm happy to, you know, hear the encouragement to listen to and like review the, you know, the recording of the meeting. But we really do need to wait until the information is brought to us by staff to be able to like share our opinions on it. And so like, I hope that helps.
Absolutely. All I'm looking for a date when you guys will have an opportunity, our council will have an opportunity to look into it. So whether this June or July, otherwise we cannot plan our budgeting.
I would just say, Councilmember Anguilari, like, you know, our boards and commissions typically advise us on things. I'm not sure I am super comfortable telling them what I want to hear from them, especially when it comes to LTAC, that is, you know, folks that work in the hotel industry that have a lot of expertise that I don't. So I think I would like to have that conversation kind of in the normal course of how we're doing this. Councilmember Dodd?
Yeah, I appreciate you highlighting this, Councilmember Anguilari. I think I do want to learn more. I appreciate the call out of the May 19th meeting. I think the one thing, looking at the slides, is I would love to see proposals from LTAC on how we can use the money we do have to include tourism grants. I think that's a great idea. I've admired other cities' grant programs. I might be misunderstanding why it's provided, but the notes that other cities do some stuff with their general fund, I think given the state of our last budget meetings, I'm not interested in proposals that pull from the general fund for LTAC purposes. I think it should fund itself. But I would love to see how we can sort of distribute that money a little bit differently to support the things we do now, maybe at different amounts, and then also community event grants. So that's what I would love to see come back from the LTAC committee personally.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Dodd. So definitely I'm not referring to anything to change on the general fund or anything. It's just an information for all of us, that's all.
Yeah, and it's always good to see how people do stuff. This is not the time for the general fund in my mind, but
absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, thank you.
And Deputy Mayor, and then I am hoping we can wrap this up. This has been a pushing 20-minute conversation.
Emeritus.
Deputy Mayor, sorry.
Sorry, 6 months. 6 months. I just wanted to second what the mayor said about we have an advisory group that is a lot more experienced than me and more subject matter experts in their fields. I'd like to hear what they have to say instead of me specifying exactly. I love to have more events. It's just, is that going to help their ROI, which will going to help our LTAC funds coming? You know, those conversations, I think it would be better to come from them than me specifying exactly what is. This is why my question was like, what problem are we trying to solve with, even if we decide that redistribution of the funds, like what is that gonna, how is that gonna help? You know, what problems do we have today that will be improved? The questions will get answered in the future. So that's it. So, Mayor.
Thank you. I am going to move on to the projected agenda discussion. Is there anything somebody would like to bring up? Oh, did anybody else have council conversations? Did you have something? Okay. In that case, we'll move on to the projected agenda discussion. Does anybody have something they'd like to discuss? Okay, I would love to accept a motion to approve the consent agenda. Councilmember Dodd?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Dodd and a second from Deputy Mayor Aldrich to approve the consent agenda. Would anybody like to speak to the motion? Seeing none, City Clerk?
Thank you very much. Please say Yes or no when I call your name. Councilmember Angulari?
Yes.
Mayor Thompson?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Alderks?
Yes.
Councilmember Curd?
Yes.
Councilmember Miles?
Yes.
Councilmember Dodd?
Yes.
Councilmember Alcabra?
Yes.
Passes 7-0.
All right, and with that, I am sorry because we already have staff there. We're going to take a quick break for 10 minutes. We'll be back, or 9 minutes. We'll be back at 7:10. Welcome back. First up is a public hearing on code amendments. It's Agenda Bill 26092. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, and so we are here tonight for the first of two public hearings. We certainly had a lot of conversations about zoning maps during the 2024 comprehensive plan and the preparation for that. And then on April 14th, Council received a briefing about the refinements that are up ahead. And again, this is not an uncommon thing, in the course of work, staff will uncover necessary updates to codes and zoning map standards, and then we go through a formal process to make it happen. So tonight, to explain that for the public before the public hearing is Eric Jazuski, who is a planner with community development, and he will provide a little bit more framing before we open the public hearing. Thank you, Eric.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. Good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and Council members. As City Manager said, I'm Eric Jazuski, Long Range Planner with the Community Development Department. I'm here to present on the zoning map refinements proposal for public hearing. The only action today is to hold a public hearing on the proposed zoning map refinements code amendments. Providing a little extra background, in 2024, this council and Planning Commission heard significant updates to the city's comprehensive plan, Imagine Bothell, including the future land use map and the implementing zoning map, covering vast areas across the city and making changes to zoning. This effort to update the comprehensive plan in 2024 and earlier involved extensive multi-year public engagement, and it also includes citywide changes to land use designations and zoning, applying new mixed-use overlay zones and new residential zones across thousands of acres in the city of Bothell. Through that process, there were some minor areas overlooked, resulting in some inconsistencies. As staff realized that over the last year and a half, we developed some proposed changes to increase regulatory clarity and fix those inconsistencies, better aligning with the future land use map that Council adopted in 2024. This proposal will help give property owners more certainty with respect to existing and future land uses allowed on their property. There are 7 locations identified where the zoning maps are proposed to be corrected. These corrections involve either applying new zones to allow mixed uses consistent with previously adopted mixed-use overlays, or applying zones that were unintentionally omitted in the comp plan update, or it's just striking out old zone names that were missed at that time. The recommendations here result from a comprehensive review of the city's current zoning maps for these inconsistencies and omissions. More information on where and what these changes are in your packet, attachment 1 to the agenda bill. As with any legislative process and planning effort, there was a consultation and review steps done, including Planning Commission meetings and City Council staff briefing. Planning Commission's already held their public hearing on May 20th and made a recommendation. No changes were made to the proposal heard at Planning Commission or City Council, and no public testimony was received. I do have just this item on the right. There was a question, I think specifically from this council, on this area, and so we're coming back to answer that question. The question, I believe, was why was RM1, the zoning being applied in that north purple blotch there? And the answer there is that because it overlaps some of the property to the south, south of 220th, the intention was to match that zoning that is currently RM1. So one property, two zoning polygons, but the same zone. So happy to answer any more questions about that. Once again, only action is to hold a public hearing on the proposal. And after this, the next steps are for City Council to consider the final ordinance adopting these changes on June 16th. That concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I would like to open the public hearing. And City Clerk, do we have anybody signed up to speak?
We do not. However, if there's anybody in the audience or the virtual audience that wishes to do so, please use raise hand function in the virtual or step to the podium for 3 minutes. I don't have anybody.
In that case, I will close the public hearing. And Councilmember Dodd?
Thanks. Eric, I had one question about the zone you zoomed in on at 228th and Meridian. I think one of the questions I have is at that intersection has 4 corners and they're all different zoning, which strikes me as kind of weird. Yeah, sorry. So I guess I just would love to know more about why.
I'm just pulling it up again here. Sorry about that.
No worries. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Councilmember Aldrich's won the race and got it up on their laptop.
So why, I guess, can you clarify the question? Why applying RM1 on the north part, or?
Well, so if I'm reading this right, you know, there's 2 of the 4 corners have MUN, and then there's RM3 on one side and RM2 on another, and it's just one intersection. What magically changes across the street when it comes to redevelopment? That's an oversimplification, just to ask why.
You know, all these different RM and RL zones were deliberated on during the comprehensive plan update. I don't know the specific reason why these were chosen. I can say in general, especially for developed communities or communities already developed, say with housing or other land uses, sometimes zoning is applied to sort of best match those. If, especially say a subdivision, there's not necessarily an expectation that those would be redeveloped into mixed-use commercial areas, for example. So in this area, I know there's several subdivisions that probably match about the RM2 density or maybe a little less. So that's my guesstimate as to why all these different zoning classifications kind of scramble all together, sort of different land use typologies. For the purple one specifically under this proposal, it was a mixed use neighborhood zone that was applied through the comprehensive plan update, or mixed use neighborhood overlay, excuse me. But that overlay does not have any regulatory implementation. So that's why there's the combination zoning here, NB and RM1, to say what are the mix of uses that are allowed, because it's just sort of a name, the MUN. So this clarifies, well, we allow mixed uses that are consistent with the RM1 zone and with the NB zone. So.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, one corner is like a retention pond for stormwater, so that's probably not going to change. But and there's already retail up there bordered by single-family homes. It's just curiosity. It's not a deal breaker. It's just kind of odd to me because there is a lot of older homes up there that could redevelop into mixed use and become more neighborhood retail. But it's not, I'm not going to, call the whole thing off because I'm confused. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
And I think the intention for this proposal is really to keep it as minimal as possible, just to fix errors, understanding that the discussion, there was significant discussion on what zones go where during that comprehensive plan update. And, this is a document, and the future land use map is also updated periodically. So there will be opportunities in the future to reassess the zoning. But today we're just trying to fix some mapping errors. So
Thanks.
Councilmember Curd.
Thank you. Thanks for the presentation. I don't have any feedback other than to piggyback off of Councilmember Dodd's statement by saying in 2016, 2017, there were significant efforts by the Planning Commission and the then council to do sub-area planning around Nike Hill. And those conversations didn't really make it into the Imagine Bothell Comprehensive Plan update that we just had because it was too many changes all at once. And so I don't want to lose that thread. We did envision at the time I was on Planning Commission and before my time on Planning Commission, this area having or serving the people that live around Nike Hill. And in order to do that, some additional capacity for residential and neighborhood business. Neighborhood business was brought into this zoning map, but additional residential capacity was needed there too. And so I'm just hopeful that we don't lose the work that had been done before. Obviously, it's going to have to be re-dredged up and walked through with our new planning documents and guidance, but just the work that was done before is still relevant today. And I think why we're talking about it and why it's like a little bit of a trigger for us is because we haven't seen the changes that had been envisioned during those earlier cycles and earlier outreach efforts. And so we're just hoping, I think, in the future when this comes back, as the city continues to change and evolve, that we don't forget of the work that we did. So just wanted to give that as some guidance and hope that if staff in community development, there's been significant turnover, several generations, we could go back to that and just dredge it up, familiarize yourself with it because it could be really helpful going forward. Thank you.
All right, I think we're good. Thank you so much. And we have one more public hearing tonight. It's the 2027-2032 six-year Transportation Improvement Program. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. And Council will be reminded that you heard a briefing on this topic on May 12th. And again, there's a relationship between the Capital Facilities Plan and the Transportation Improvement Program. So tonight, we're having the public hearing in the process of making sure that we're conforming, stay grant eligible, and make sure that our TIP matches our CFP because we love our acronyms. Tonight, Steve Morikawa, the Deputy Public Works Director, is here to provide a short presentation prior to opening the public hearing and answering any questions. And again, as noted before, no decision tonight, but this will be coming back for potential action on June 16th. With that, I'll turn things over to Steve.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. Let's see. So the purpose of tonight's agenda bill is to hold a public hearing for the six-year Transportation Improvement Program. We often call it a TIP, T-I-P. In the presentation tonight, I hope to give a brief overview of the process, give a quick recap of how the TIP relates to the Capital Facility Plan, identify some specific project program changes or updates, talk about next steps, and then we can open the public hearing. So where we are, back in May 12th, I gave a short brief, kind of heard part of this presentation, so it'll be kind of a recap on what you learned in May 12th. We hope to have the public hearing open and closed this evening, and then if everything goes well, on June 16, we hope to consider adoption so we can meet our July 1st deadline. So what is the six-year TIP? It's a list of transportation projects that's required by the Revised Code of Washington. It must be consistent with our adopted comprehensive plan. Public hearing must be held before it's adopted. It must be adopted by our council. And one of the key things probably to remember about why we have a TIP is oftentimes a transportation project may not be eligible for state grants unless it's listed on our six-year TIP. So how is the TIP related to the capital facilities plan? The capital facilities plan lists all the capital projects we're going to be working on or anticipate working on in a 7-year period. That includes transportation projects, utility projects, facilities, and parks. The 6-year TIP is actually the transportation section, so it's a subset of the CFP. The projects all come from our adopted comprehensive plan. It comes out of the transportation element. There's a list, a 20-year list of capital transportation projects that we anticipate completing in that 20-year period. And so the TIP is actually a subset of that list. This is where it gets a little bit confusing. The capital facility plan is updated every 2 years. This is the year that we're going to do it along with the budget. So typically, the capital facility plan gets adopted toward the end of this year, and early next year, we would have to update the TIP again to meet our July 1st deadline. And so next year's would essentially match exactly what the capital facility plan looks like. This year, however, in the even year, we have to precede the capital facility plan. So the list that you're going to see is our best guess what's going to come out of the draft capital facility plan. And if there's some alterations made, then we will correct that next year. So let me go through some of the projects, the changes at least, very quickly. These are the projects that we anticipate to have completed, so we don't need to put them on the list anymore. And if you see the old list, these are the ones deleted. T84 is a sidewalk project. T103 is a sidewalk project, both that have been bid or are going to be bid. I can't remember. They're going to be built this summer. 102nd Avenue downtown access was completed, I believe, last year. That was fully funded by Sound Transit Access Funds. T91, if you want to ask me questions later, we can go through it. It gets a little complicated. Essentially, what happened was we're trying to disconnect some traffic signal lights from our street lights in the downtown area so we can pass them over to Puget Sound Energy to take care of. It's very interesting. Part of the history of the downtown is when we first started doing the redevelopment of downtown, LED lights were first coming out, and we were kind of on the cusp of that. And unfortunately, one of the things that happened is some of that changed, and we have to kind of modify things in order to fix it up. T97 is the North Creek repair. We had a washout on that trail, and we're using FEMA funds and hopefully get that done this summer. There are a couple projects, overlay projects that you were in the past and you're not going to see in this year's, because what happens is we reassess every year or two what projects we're going to overlay. And it's amazing, 1 or 2 winters can do to certain areas. Some degrade faster than others, and so we reassess where the necessity is. So there are some projects that came in more in need than these 2 projects, so these are going to be pushed down the road a little bit. I do have one housekeeping item. In the last capital facility plan, essentially we consolidated safety projects, transportation type programs into one transportation safety program. We had collector corridor, we had traffic calming. They were all listed separately with small amounts of money in each pot. And what we did was put it under one giant safety program to give us a little more flexibility to implement the entire package and go after grants. And one year we might do one thing, another year we might do another, rather than incrementally a little bit on each particular type of safety program. We kept the crosswalk program because it was funded entirely by the old levy, and we were trying to track the funds separately. But now that that old levy has sunsetted, we want to put it into our overall transportation safety program. So it's kind of a housekeeping thing. Okay, and this is probably the most interesting list. This is the one the projects added. Again, they fall under the comprehensive plan umbrella, and so all of these projects should be related or were listed into our transportation element list. So the first one is actually right out the door here. It's part of our Sound Transit project, and when we tried to alter that intersection, inertia of history of how that intersection behaved before was very difficult to overcome, and we're working with Sound Transit, and they will fund the traffic signal at that particular location. T119 is 228th Street corridor. not to be confused with the widening project between 35th and 39th. This project actually would complete sidewalks and protected bike lanes along 228 from city limit west to city limit east. It's in our comp plan. This would be phase one, and we've actually used some bike funds to start the planning phase to try to get ready for grants that might be coming up, and we want to be ready to be able to apply for those things. T120 is State Route 522 sidewalk on the westbound side, essentially filling in the gap at the Yakima Fruit Market and a little bit beyond. T121, State Route 524 corridor. So this is the side from State Route 527 to our east city limits. If you go up there, it looks like there's a lot of pavement and only a couple lanes. One of the things we want to do is at least go through our planning phase to be ready if WashDOT decides to repave. They currently, when they're repaving now, they go through a complete streets kind of look. And if we can get some active transportation modes included in that when they repave and be ready for that, that's one of the things we want to get ready for. T1 to 23 is stage 4, 522. It's actually from 101st Avenue Northeast to Kaesner, that section there which the bridge goes over. We will be touching it this year as we work on the bridge because we need to figure out how long to make the bridge. So we need to figure out what that section, cross-section is going to look like in order to do that. As an example, we're thinking on the south side, perhaps like a shared use path might be on that side. So we have to span a little bit further. The last one, to me, is the most interesting, T134. And that's the intersection in North Creek Parkway, the business park, on 120th and the south portion of North Creek Parkway. If you can imagine that intersection just north of Home Depot. So we're working with Community Transit Swift to get their Green Line, BRT, down to service downtown Bothell and UW Bothell and Cascadia College. They need a place to turn around and have layovers and charge. And they're picking a place in North Creek Parkway. However, in order to potentially service the entire loop, they would make, as an example, going eastbound on 195th, take a right turn on North Creek Parkway South, follow that loop, take a left turn on 120th, and then go back over the bridge to UW Bothell. In order to make that whole loop, that intersection creates a left turn conflict for them. However, in working with them, there's a good chance if we can solve that conflict, they would be willing to add another station there in the future and serve that area. So this is one of the reasons we want to put it in and start putting planning money for that. Again, not in stone, but staff working to staff and trying to work with each other to kind of partner up on things. We have 10 pavement preservation projects. I'm not going to go through them, but this is a list of the ones we plan to work on over the next 7 years. And again, the next step, assuming the public hearing goes well, would be coming back on June 16th and proposing that we adopt this year's 6-year tip so we can meet our July 1st deadline. And with that, I would recommend opening the public hearing, and if after that you have questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
All right, I will open the public hearing. City Clerk?
We do not have anybody signed up to speak on the public hearing. However, if there is anybody in the audience who wishes to do so, please use the raise hand function if you're virtual, or step to the podium and you will have 3 minutes. We do not have anybody.
In that case, I will close the public hearing. Council? Councilmember Miles?
I just want to say this was a great presentation. Thanks, Steve. And I am so excited about North Creek. We've been doing a lot of work and talking about that. So I like to see the progress that we've been making. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for this presentation. I joked to the mayor that it feels kind of like award season up here tonight, where it's like there's places that we've been rooting for to have transportation improvements, and like to hear them come up and see that the projects are added. It's like, you know, like yay Yakima, and so it's just pretty exciting. I think you saw some some reactions from up here where we're definitely rooting for these projects. And so I really am grateful that they've been added. And I know that a lot of the work that you do is to then seek funding to help build out these projects. And I know that your team is very, very capable and historically successful at doing that. And so I wish you that success going forward so that we can see these built with money that helps supplement and increase the likelihood that it gets done. And yes, thank you to the finance department for helping make that happen. Thanks.
I just want to say, thank you. This project is a list of the places in the city that really need something. And there's a few hot spots in here, especially up on 524. There's a whole neighborhood there that basically can't walk down to the area, where there's going to be the green line, where there's places to shop. That's going to open up a couple neighborhoods to get around differently than they have the option for right now. And 228th is a super big deal. So just thanks. I'm super excited to see this group of projects. I think we're good.
Thank you very much.
All right, next up, we have purchase of King County parcel number 082-605-9096 from TRF Equities Bothell LLC. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. And we are back again to talk about property acquisition in downtown, a neighboring property to what we just discussed last month. So before you tonight, Council, you have the being presented with an agreement between TRF, who is the current owner of the parcel in question, and the city, who would be the buyer. And the agreement, as always, establishes terms for transferring the property to the city. Before you then is a screenshot to really highlight what the property location is in case you don't have your addresses or parcel numbers memorized. I hope you do not. The current owner of the parcel is TRF Equities, and the property is located within the city's downtown sub-area, uniquely positioned in an area of the city that's particularly well suited for redevelopment. We're currently sitting in a situation of where the lot that is shown as a former parking lot and now is Triangle Junction is already owned by the city, and then the neighboring property, which we'll look at next, is also owned by the city, and so this will combine 3 parcels. The parcel in question tonight has been something that we just started discussion in mid-March about acquisition, and began a feasibility period where we looked at due diligence of the property, including establishing a valuation and purchase price, which is set at $1.6 million. There was an additional requirement of a phase 2 environmental site assessment, which was completed, and ultimately council approval, which is tonight. And we're seeing that now. So securing ownership of this remaining site will now combine 3 properties and bring the total city parcel to just under 1.4 acres. With the phase 2 environmental assessment, one thing I do want to note is that we'll refresh a little bit on just overall decontamination of downtown. This phase 2 assessment indicated no environmental soil or groundwater cleanup within this property. However, there were analysis that showed groundwater collected at the western edge of the property exceeded cleanup level of dry cleaning solvent, which is likely tied to, we'll see a map here, but likely tied to adjacent to City Hall here, the Ultra Dry Cleaner site, and the plume that we have been working to clean up over the last several years. And noted in your agenda as well, there was also as we were doing this assessment, there was also traces of surface vapor within the building. Dry cleaning chemicals were not detected in that sample, so it's not related to what we're cleaning up. There were petroleum additives that were found in compounds which were detected at very low levels and far below the safety limits. set by OSHA. At the same time, the phase 2 recommendation did suggest further investigation once the building is demolished. So as the city moves forward with redevelopment and finding a redevelopment partner, much like when you purchase a house, once you know something, we disclose it. This is certainly something we look at. But again, no significant cleanup or hazards to be concerned about, just something to be flagged and aware of for the future. So as I noted, this then brings 2 parcels together. There's a building that are on 2 parcels with a shared wall. So as we consider what to do, like there's that factor. But again, as I mentioned, once you combine this with the current lot E, F, and G as well, we look at an increased size and access with the ability to really have more of a clean slate of what redevelopment could look like for this property. I mentioned just really quickly too, again, this is all tied into an overall redevelopment effort that the city has been committed to for many, many years. The property at the top of the slide to your right as you're looking at it with the box around it, that is, again, the property right next door to City Hall. That's the Ultra site. And so there's been remediation opportunity or activities going on, and including on E, F, and G. So these properties are adjacent to that, but not on it. But that's part of why we were also tracing of just knowing what would we be inheriting, since we do know quite a bit about this property. Overall, though, the goal here is that hopefully in a 2 to 4 year period, closer to 2 is our hope, we'll be at a point where redevelopment of this property becomes available, and then the city council gets to have a conversation about what does marketing of this property look like, what conditions would we put on it. And again, by combining these 3 parcels, it gives a bigger palette to choose from of what are those conditions and what would things look like. Finally then, to the nuts and bolts, there's a financial cost to this, of course. The purchase price was validated by the appraisal, and the appraisal came in at 1.6, and that is the city's offer. The funding would come from our general fund balance of, again, the city council has made really prudent decisions over the last few years of building up that general fund balance. So we have some fluidity of being able to purchase and close with cash. Our anticipation, presuming this goes through tonight, is we will be back with you next week for a simpler transaction, but looking for authorization to issue taxable bonds, which we would then reimburse the general fund after closing. But being able to come with cash is very helpful in this real estate transaction. We would also, being able to do this, our anticipation is repaying those loans or bonds, however we finance this, with proceeds from the property's future sale. And again, there's a lot of time in this. There's development conditions and economic realities, but one thing I did want to share with council too as we look at this is that as we asked for a very unofficial what would be an appraisal price of the 3 properties put together as the city considers what to do with them and going forward. And the rough estimate is over $9 million. So we're looking at really the combination of these parcels. The value definitely goes up, and we are no guarantees ever. We caveat everything, but the idea of being able to repay this loan through the proceeds of a sale seems quite likely. With that, I'm happy to answer questions that you may have. Otherwise, we'll look at moving forward, and if council gives authorization, we'll be closing on this property within the week.
Councilmember Dodd?
Nobody said anything, so I was going to offer to make a motion.
Go right ahead.
Okay. You know, sometimes silence feels longer than it is.
I know that very much.
I move the recommended action.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Dodd and a second from Councilmember Alcabra to adopt a resolution authorizing the purchase of King County parcel number 082-605-9096. Would anybody like to speak to the motion? Seeing none, City Clerk.
Thank you. Please say yes or no when I call your name. Councilmember Anguilari?
Yes.
Mayor Thompson?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Alder?
Yes.
Councilmember Kurd?
Yes.
Councilmember Miles?
Yes.
Councilmember Dodd?
Yes.
Councilmember Alcabra?
Yes.
Passes 7-0.
All right. Next up, we have Shoreline Regional Fire Authority Annexation. City Manager.
Thank you. So tonight, no final decisions are being sought, but what we are here tonight is to get some direction to continue down a path towards next steps on considering joining of the Shoreline Fire RFA. I'm joined tonight by Quan Wong, our Finance Director, to answer any questions that start with dollar signs. Before you then, as I mentioned, it's not, this doesn't firm anything up other than gives us direction on bringing back a potential resolution, which would then set steps in motion to move towards an RFA. This is following the joint meeting that the council had at the end of May, and as well as discussions that have been taking place for the past 3+ years. As a reminder of that, you'll see before you some of the background that we've been discussing. And again, for anybody who is learning about this for the first time, because that always happens, it doesn't matter where we are in a process, somebody's going to be hearing about it for the first time. So I do also want to remind everyone that information about this entire process and project is posted on the city's website. If you look through at the fire department site, it's under fire study. So we started in 2023. Actually before that, deciding some things, but ended up conducting an RFP for executive level services, and have been being served by Shoreline Fire Department, providing a fire chief as well as some additional executive leadership. Further decisions have been made in 2024 around that decision, as well as maintenance of fire vehicles. And in 2025, we reached the 1-year mark. We are actually now at the 2-year mark of operating under that agreement. So we've gotten a good taste of what it looks like to partner in operations with Shoreline Fire, in addition to the many years of joint training that we've had for our employees. To reframe on project guideposts of as we looked at all the available legal options that the city had in front of us, really the things that have been guiding us is to make sure that we're maintaining or improving services. We show respect for our employees. We seek stakeholder input. We make sure that we do something that is economically sensible, and we also have transparency, which supports the website that I mentioned that's up there too. So more importantly, we put this together in the last update that the council received, and I want to come back to it in terms of if council is interested in moving towards a question of the community of would they like to go forward with joining the RFA. We've taken one step, which was in May we conducted the RFA board city council meeting. Tonight, the question is do we need to move to the step indicated with the box, which would be the council would issue a resolution, which we would then send to the Shoreline RFA board saying we would like to join. They then also have to pass a resolution saying we will take you. And so if, again, council so chooses, we will bring such a resolution for your consideration next week. We would then send that to the RFA board. Some other key things that I want to note is that when we bring that resolution, we'd also be looking at getting direction from council on moving forward with soliciting volunteers for a pro-con committee. So that is something that by the end of July, we would be asking council to appoint members of the pro-con committee. This is the same process that we go through anytime there is a ballot measure presented to the community, and council may select up to 3 members in favor and opposed to the question before the voters. More people can participate, but there's always up to 3 named voters. So we would be doing that. We also would be moving forward with that direction from council. We'll also start working on noticing of a public hearing, which would take place in July, so we can get initial feedback, because all of those things then precede the final action of what would be happening, which is that next dot, which would be council to approve ballot language in a pro-con committee. At that point, then we're committed to asking the community the question. There's steps that take place, but ultimately that leads us to November 3rd, getting the feedback of the community. I want to go back into that last box of just reiterating. We know 4 members of City Council were able to participate, but on May 18th, there was a joint meeting with several members of the Shoreline RFA Board of Commissioners. That meeting focused on some high-level background, as well as discussions around governance model options, service level considerations, and financial impacts. What I want to really focus on then tonight is in that discussion, there was general consensus around, I heard no strong opposition to any one of these factors, but a couple of things that did come up were around governance and the interest of having a balance in a governance model. And what I understand is that at a subsequent Shoreline RFA Board of Commissioners meeting, they discussed it, and that in our joint meeting, there were some conversations about how there's a process that the RFA would need to go through to go out to their voters to change the composition or size of the board. As we looked at this further and had further discussions after the joint meeting, and then the chief was able to present to the RFA board, the two existing boards, so keeping in mind Shoreline just was created as an RFA, was a marriage between two fire departments, Shoreline and North Shore. Both of those two agencies, as they still exist with some fiscal responsibility, they have 5 members each. So right now the Shoreline RFA is operating as a 10-member board. They have the operation in that 5 and 5 configuration to say we're only going to send 3 members to the Shoreline RFA board. And that is their intent. We'll formalize that, of course, but as we would move forward, the idea would be is that the former Shoreline Fire Department would have 3 representatives, the North Shore Fire Department, former Boundary would have 3 representatives, and then the City of Bothell would have 3 representatives. And in the case that we've been discussing, those 3 representatives would be made up of current City Council members selected among the council. The level of service considerations really is work that the staff is considering to put together some options for council consideration, and we will be doing as you go out to the community around what is the financial impact of adjustments to property tax. So I think we got direction that we needed, and we'll continue to, again, we won't lock that in, but we'll bring council options of what it looks like to maintain it at the current level or reduce to an appropriate level as well, to make sure that the city maintains in good financial conditions and we're able to meet our commitments. Just as a reminder too, this was something that was discussed in the joint meeting, but for all who maybe weren't able to attend, what we also know is that there will be a trailing of when the financial shift or the collection of the property taxes shifts over to Shoreline RFA if this was approved. So in year 1 and possibly for parts of year 2, the city would be operating under a contract for services, essentially, where we would be transferring the cost of operations from our revenues to Shoreline RFA. So any change to property owners in Bothell would really have a lagging effect of at least a year, if not 2, before they saw a difference in terms of where the property tax distribution came up. The other was we had some conversations around financial decisions, of which will become a basis of negotiations that staff will take part in between the RFA and the city. But some of the conversations that were presented at that joint meeting had to do about reserves and in terms of whether or not the city would contribute towards the reserves of the RFA, how capital planning takes place. Again, we speak 2 different languages, but we do very similar things. But we have our capital facilities plan where we look at capital investments over time. The fire district does things a little differently, so we need to make sure that we line those up. We also talked about some the liabilities that go with things in terms of left one and leave. And ultimately, I mean, I think what we're looking at there, just because I know there was some significant interest on that, in terms of leave liabilities for what happens with vacation or sick leave payouts for current fire employees, the law probably will be what dictates how we handle that in terms of the liability follows the employees. And then in terms of left one liability, just of interest, the city currently has 2 left one pensioners, 1 retired individual, 1 survivor spouse. There's a projected cost of about $43,000 in 2026 for those 2 employees or those 4 left one pensioners. We also have a number of people who were pre-left retirees, currently 8 individuals with a total monthly cost of $4,384. So the left liability is a less probably impactful thing, and we'll be modeling over what the costs would be over a 7 to 10 year period. And then also there was some conversations about transfer of assets. Importantly, I think for the Bothell community to know is that we remain very grateful for the vote of confidence from the community in building of 2 new fire stations in Bothell, and those bonds will be being paid off through 2040. And both properties and with the building and the property itself are valued at approximately $8 million apiece. The city's intent on that then is to maintain ownership through the payment of those bonds through 2040, and then we would retain ownership but be able to sublease them to the RFA for operations. So fire stations would be in use, ownership would be the city, and then in 2040 that'd be something we could revisit. So those are some of the high level things of what was discussed at that joint meeting, just to catch everybody up on what was discussed. For potential next steps then is that we are prepared to bring you a resolution, if you so choose, that would request annexation consideration to the board. We would send to the board. We would bring that to you next week on June 9th. And then with that too, staff between our 2 agencies would be having negotiations of trying to hammer out an agreement of what needs to take place of if the voters were to give the direction to move forward. And we'll knit all of that together then before everything's firmed up in July. So again, tonight, no final direction, but we are looking for feedback through a motion to bring back a potential resolution seeking annexation into the Shoreline Fire Department Regional Fire Authority. And with that, Quan and I are here to answer questions, and I'll also note that online, Deanna Gregory, who's been supporting the city through Pacifica Law Group, is also here in case you have a question that stumps the Quan and Kyle show.
Or if we have bond questions.
Always.
Councilmember Alcabra.
Thank you. Thank you. This is exciting times to go through this. I see we are doing a lot of financial diligence and making sure that the transfer process, what we keep, what we sublease, how we do the contracts. The thing that I may have missed, I couldn't join that meeting, unfortunately, but there's the top thing you mentioned, discussion of service levels. It's one thing I don't remember what I did this morning. So something I don't think I have seen, but it will be good to see that level of diligence on the level of service as well. Financial is very important, obviously, but also level of service, which is maybe just as important, if not more important. And I don't know when or how that will make it before we make a decision.
I will, for next week's meeting, we'll include the information that the fire chief from Shoreline provided, and we'll bring that back for council consideration.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Councilmember Anguillari.
Thank you. City Manager, the taxpayer impact scenarios, at what point of time we will decide what scenario we are going to go with?
Our intent is to bring that to you through this decision-making process so that you have it before the decision to put it on the ballot in July. It won't be part of the ballot measure itself, but we recognize that the community would want to know before they're asked the question. So we will bring you scenarios and council will decide in the July timeframe.
What is the date? When do we decide?
In July.
July, okay. Okay. So we as a council will select which scenario to go with.
You will give, you'll give direction on what we should include. Absolutely.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Dodd.
Thanks. I just wanted to, emphasize Councilmember Anguillari's point about the financial impact. I've been bothering my friends who live in Bothell and who will vote on this. As someone who's been talking about it for a long time, I was like, as people who don't talk about this regularly, what would you be concerned about? And there wasn't a lot of concerned that the level of service would be different, just in the sense that they understand us all to share a pretty high level of service in the area. But they were curious how it would affect their property taxes, not from a no increases ever perspective, but just it's a big unknown. So I think that's what a lot of community members are going to be thinking about. So that bit is pretty important, because that's what I heard. I tried to ask a broad spectrum of people who were okay with me bothering them, and that was what I heard almost uniformly.
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. In the past, I have seen staff do a really good job of breaking down the costs to taxpayers in a way that is easy to understand for taxpayers. And so I would expect the same level of care and attention in future presentations. And so I just know that that would be something to look forward to in future presentations. I think that public hearing is going to be really important. And, of those of us who are up here, we know that this conversation's been coming for years and been participating in this conversation for years. But I am not too aware of how much our community knows about this process, where we're at, and how important their voice is. And so I'm hoping that there can be some, and I've talked to the city manager about this, but just some information that goes out to the community about the importance of this public hearing and trying to get people to come in and share their thoughts and give them information that prepares them for that public hearing. But I also know that the presentation that we'll hear that night is going to be solid.
Thank you. And yeah, we will absolutely get information about that advertisement for the pro-con committee opportunity and the public hearing out kind of simultaneously, so people are hearing it all in one big package and making sure that the community and members who are interested to participate know what they need to do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm totally comfortable with this. My first question when I saw it on the agenda, you answered throughout this, which was, wait, we still had some things we were talking about that we haven't gotten a resolution on yet. But I feel pretty comfortable that we're going to get to a resolution on those, and am very comfortable moving forward with the letter tonight. Councilmember Curd.
Thanks. Not that you need another voice saying so, but I am also comfortable with you proceeding to prepare a resolution. Thank you.
Are you comfortable enough to make or Councilmember Miles? Okay, I saw your hand move, I think.
I scared you.
Is anybody comfortable enough to make a motion? We don't need to? Oh,
we did.
Okay, we did. Cool.
Done.
I thought I heard somebody say through a motion.
Council Eileen Kiefer, your city attorney, Madrona Law Group. I believe the AB does anticipate a motion. Just this way too, we have it formalized, right? That council's official directive is to direct the city manager's office to prepare such a resolution as discussed tonight.
Councilmember Dodd.
With full credit to Deputy Mayor Alders, I move that we direct the city manager to prepare a resolution seeking annexation into the Shoreline Fire Department Regional Fire Authority.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Dodd and a second from Councilmember Alders to move the recommended action. Would anybody like, did I do something wrong?
It's fine. Deputy Mayor Alders. I'm fine.
Okay. All right. Sorry. Would anybody like to speak to the motion? Seeing none, City Clerk.
Thank you. Please say yes or no when I call your name. Councilmember Anguluri?
Yes.
Mayor Thompson?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Alders?
Yes.
Councilmember Curd?
Yes.
Councilmember Miles?
Yes.
Councilmember Dodd?
Yes.
Councilmember Alcabra?
Yes.
Passes 7-0.
Thank you all. Thank you. Titles are hard sometimes. Do we want to go straight into this, or do we want to take another break? Take a break. All right, we're going to take a break. It is 8:03. We'll be back at 8:15. All right, welcome back. Next up, we've got an agenda bill on downtown parking program implementation update, and we're obviously here for a study session. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. And again, hopefully this item looks familiar to all of you, and that we were teed up to have this conversation in May and then postponed it to tonight. So we do appreciate the opportunity to come back and discuss this. I'll give you the quick high-level details, which was just as a reminder, Council has had a priority around developing strategies to better manage parking in order to enhance parking availability and bring that back to Council. We had an initial study session, and that's really then prompted and launched a lot of staff study, research, comparison to some other jurisdictions and what they've learned on their parking journeys, because believe it or not, this is a highly opinionated, highly nuanced decision, and have put together some parameters of what a program would look like, and that's what we want to share with council tonight. I've been really thankful in that when we were first kicking this off, we had a deputy city manager, Tony Call, who was leading this, and in her absence, then sometimes it takes a village, and we got great leadership from a number of ELT members and other staff, but really two people who have helped guide this conversation through and kept it moving forward are at the table with us tonight. Kwan Wong, our finance director, and Ashish Joshi, our economic development coordinator. And I'm going to turn things over to Ashish to walk you through a conversation and a presentation and answer questions.
Thank you, City Manager, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, Council members. We're here today where staff are seeking direction on the preferred implementation model for parking management as part of the 2027-2028 biennial budget proposal as well. We have two questions that will help your discussion, one regarding the recommendation and then also one regarding the gaps that we'll come back to. As the city manager mentioned, this was part of the 2023 adopted vision, the moving in and around Bothell priority, to develop those strategies around enhancing availability. That has continued with the update this year with the now named moving freely around Bothell priority. So we continue that work and we'll connect that to other elements of work. So building from that council vision in 2023, parking got included in other pieces of work. And one theme you'll see today is that parking connects to many elements of the city. And so one example is during our comp plan work, two key mentions, one in the transportation element regarding on-street parking programs, wayfinding, and other elements, as well as the economic development element, so the impact of businesses and figuring out how the ripple effects of a program would entail. We came back to council in September of 2025 and heard from council direction in this in three areas. One, develop an in-house program. Two, the North Star should be the ease to find a space. And three, thinking of it as a long-term holistic management of an asset with continuous data and being data driven and data informed. So we're coming back to you today with what we took from there, and we learned from some peer cities and taking a look at ourselves. What does it take to start? Then a couple options, and then the needs to get things off the ground. As a quick reminder, we had this map in the last update in September. This was a very initial inventory of some spaces in our downtown. One piece of new information is that 25%, a quarter, has signage. So that's an additional element there. So as we mentioned, we went to other cities and kind of learned what their experience was with parking. Two very different stages of their experience. One being the city of Kirkland, where we basically learned the need for a holistic plan around. They've got some data after 30 years of enforcement. They've used that down the line to ladder up with more sensors, kiosks, and then equipment-wise. But they are similarly in the next few years looking at that strategy to make sure that as they can scale and as they make sure that it affects their broader downtown economic center, how can they figure out, make sure that things are designed in a system that's consistent and predictable. And then Mercer Island on the other side, so they tackled parking with the initiative of the light rail stops coming to Mercer Island. So they went through a plan and we took some of the lessons on kind of how they structured that plan. One key element being the idea of parking once. So that is where you treat an area as a destination, park once, and then travel to either your business that you want to go to, and then hopefully explore more. So then it's more of that destination rather than a one instance use. So we took that all together and kind of brought it back to what we're looking at. In September, we had a initial roadmap for the council, and that was based on the model on the left where you pilot and grow, which for many projects is kind of an area where you can be traditionally faster and agile. But as we learned from our peer cities, is that because of the connections to so many other things, one side effect is that when you change and kind of pivot so much on a project like this, it's a little bit of whiplash for the potential whiplash, because it affects so many other things. So for a program like this, when you want to pilot, you want to limit as many variables as possible. But with the amount of connections that parking has, it's a little harder to limit those variables. So through those conversations, we looked at more of the holistic approach. So on the right, where one, we want to integrate with our broad city work, whether it's work across the transportation improvement work that you heard earlier, whether it's our work in the parks department, or work with our downtown sub-area plan and Canyon Park sub-area plans in the future. So taking a holistic look at that. The challenge of that is that we want some level of agility still. So the key to do that is that you need to structure it in a way so that you can have pockets where you can be agile, but then when you make changes, it's not a whiplash to the end user customer, which will be the general public. And so with all these, we came to the recommendation for the fuller system because we learned that intentional design helps toward this, because ultimately we want to get toward two things: predictability and consistency, at least for the end user. And toward that, we have some draft parking goals on page 362 of your packet. We have some goals that, as you can see, align with a lot of the work across the city. With that North Star of equitable access and user experience. And layering in the work, as you can see, with whether it's our transportation multimodal work, whether it's our economic vitality work, and then the bedrock underneath is making sure that we're data-driven and have some of that infrastructure to be able to adapt and scale potentially. So looking at our needs, the two elements, or at least for, especially on the enforcement side, require additional dedicated staff, starting with limited term commissioner, limited commission officer, which is at a scale that we thought would be best as part of budget request. And you've seen some of the estimates and had been part of the discussions related to that. Another element is technology. So whether it's a handheld or a scanner, or even some of the signage that we need to match up so that we don't have selective enforcement. That is also at a scale that is part of the budget discussions. But through all that, there are elements that we need to get ready. So whether it's maybe minor code tweaks, maybe it's some of the systems, making sure that it's a plug-and-play system by the time we're ready to kind of move forward. We're already started doing a lot of that work and are continuing to do that work just to make sure that we're ready and adaptable as a city. So for the order of operations, building off of that, a lot of this work has started and is continuing through this year. Probably the biggest key part of this discussion is going to be the budget elements. And then going into phase 2 would be as things get installed and starting an ambassador program so that the public can know about changes, so that maybe after 90 days when enforcement happens, they are ready and aware. From there, we want to make sure that this system is adaptable, but also not based on a point in time. So as you have seen in many other parking studies, the trick is sometimes you only have data from a point in time. So we want to be able to adapt and optimize with continuous data. And then from there, we want to make sure that we integrate and adapt so that as they're we want to make sure that with that North Star of accessibility and user experience, we can make sure that we meet all that with on a city level. So to kind of round us off, the more immediate next steps is all these elements that we're working on. The budget discussions are one element. We want to make sure that we have some data regarding our curb and thinking about the curb management side of this as well, in that theme of holisticness. And then cost recovery, sustainability as a program, and with our budget and a long term. And then ultimately making sure that we're adaptable and we make sure we're connected to the community, especially in a program such as this that has many effects, but at least to the community, they see one thing, which is, I want to get to park, and how do I do that? So once again, we're just seeking direction on that preferred implementation model, and want to support your discussion around two questions. One, would council support that recommendation to design a parking management program, which is a holistic system that's aligned with the city goals? And if so, are there any gaps or adjustments needed to those draft goals, which are part of page 362 in the packet? We appreciate your council's discussion, and we have, in the theme of it being parking connected to all across the city, we have teams across the city as support right here for you.
I'll start. I really appreciate the way that you've put this together. I will just say that the kind of rip the Band-Aid off approach feels better to me than the like starts and stops and like change. Like it's so many transitions that'll be very confusing for people. So I do understand why the recommendation is to just prepare it and then implement it. Kind of like when we switched over to NORCOM. If we had done a phased approach with NORCOM, that sounds like a nightmare. So we shouldn't have done that. So I appreciate that recommendation and support it. When I look at kind of gaps or adjustments, I'm thinking more of like, you are anticipating ripple effects. I have a couple of ripple effects that I can share with you that I anticipate. One of them is going to be Valley View neighborhood. You will have people, like we already hear folks who live in the neighborhood say that there's people parking. And even though there's signs that say permit only for neighbors, like, right, you're going to then also have to step up permit enforcement in those areas. And so, people will try to avoid paying for parking. They will try to find free parking. They'll say, oh, it's a permit, but it doesn't say you have to pay for it. And they'll park. And then they'll have to be moved because they're not allowed to park there. And that's just humans. The next one, the kind of spillover effect that I can think of, I think we've already started to see this too, that some of our downtown lots have started charging for parking. And I heard some rumbling about that in multiple directions, actually, around is it allowed? And is it, like what are the forces at play? And so I would then be asking, like, if we're charging for parking in the surrounding areas around those lots, I would also think that we would want to anticipate, what are the rules, codes, like how do we create a system to where downtown lots can also be charging for parking? I believe they will ask if they haven't already. They have, okay. So those are just sort of some of the spillover effects that I can predict in that area. And I just want to make sure that you are preparing for those and have plans in place. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. I was just going to jump right in, but it was a good presentation. I appreciate it. A lot of the questions I have are like really in the weeds. Deputy Mayor Aldrich's brought up permit-only neighborhoods. I'm thinking of up by Bothell High School is the other one. And then I guess how comprehensive it will be. Like, I know there's a difference, it feels like, in the straight downtown near City Hall and Main Street parking use versus like in the neighborhoods in like the downtown neighborhood zone. So just understanding the scope of enforcement and signage too. I know there's a sign over by the Merc that says 2 hours Monday through Friday. When does that end? When, is it at midnight on Saturday? Like, I think just understanding the signage that will help people will help me kind of process it too. But I'm overall supportive of just, I like the lead in, 90 days, 60 days, whatever it ends up being, but just helping people get used to it. I know when we started the school zone ALPRs, we sent out like notices. Will that be part of this pilot too? Okay, cool. I think you've got a really good plan, and I think a lot of my questions are for later on, but so far so good. Pending what everyone else says, because that's where I get other ideas.
Thank you. This is very helpful. I am obviously for this. I will. The first question is yes. Go for the full. Go for it. I agree. We should just do it. Rip off the Band-Aid. The thing I just wanted to provide just a piece of feedback, because I go to downtown quite a bit and visit the businesses, and they have. I know we have to, it's not an easy job to balance all the stakeholders, but just to provide one aspect of the stakeholders, which I'm sure you have heard, but just wanted to emphasize, is that businesses do want turnover. If you want to get turnover, that means you need to have spaces for folks to park. And if their spaces don't exist because for whatever reason, then it's not going to help the businesses turn over customers, right? So we need just to provide that piece of feedback, which I have heard directly. But I support this, and yeah, let's do it.
One quick piece of information on that is with a full system, metrics like 60 to 80% occupancy of a space is kind of things that lead toward that.
Actually, would there be, or maybe it's a weeds question, tell me it's a weeds question we can address later. Is there going to be then flexible, different prices and depending on or is it just a flat rate? I saw you shake your head, so I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I don't think we are there yet. We in the first phase, we are not talking about cost recovery, so that will be down the road. But during the first year, with the starting cost, it will be about $600,000 a year, because we still need to install signage, and that's about $200,000. Only 25% of our area are signed right now. We also need to talk about technology, because lessons learned, we need different pieces of the technologies in order to work smoothly. And we don't want to make the mistakes of some other jurisdictions. So that is a huge effort, and the cost is about $200,000 as well. So, but down the road, cost recovery is in our mind, but we're not there yet until technology is there.
Yes, because that was in the packet before, and I just want, my question was, when you said 60 to 80%, are you going to adjust the rates of parking, the money, the amount that people pay based on the occupancy of the spot, right?
Yeah, I think that would be part of that optimization phase 3, phase 4.
With this initial technology buy, will you kind of keep in mind those future goals though? Like because there's this fear that we buy something and then it doesn't do what we want to do 2 years from now, and then we're buying more things. And okay, cool.
Thanks for really listening and internalizing what we were. That was inevitably a long meeting, so thank you. I want to roll back to more messaging to the community. People see heavy police response to a small traffic incident, and they say, well, why can't the police just go and enforce the rules on the road, which is parking in people's mind? What do we tell people when we say we actually need to pivot to this system? I'm all for going all in, just doing it, ripping the Band-Aid off. But what are the messaging things that we can share with our constituents about the existing capacity of our police department, whether this is the best fit, whether spot-based enforcement versus something that's more the expectation is set and it's predictable and regular? What are some of the things that you'd suggest?
Yeah, definitely. So the communication aspect is definitely something that we're going to be working on. A key element that you touched upon is the selective enforcement. So you say we could have pockets where the enforcement happens, but to make sure it's consistent and then applied evenly and equitably is one of these elements that would be part of the goals, but also part of that system that would be better served. And then with that limited commission staff person, that would be dedicated toward that, rather than someone that would be have other roles that to kind of balance. So those would be, but we would also make sure that you would all have proper talking points on them.
Yeah, I think with the limited commission staffer, I'd be interested to know what the scope of their duties would be. Our downtown isn't huge. It's like the size of Alderwood Mall. So how much time does it take to go through, and would it be on an hourly cycle, or what does their day look like? So that would be really helpful to be able to share, this is the expectation for this staffer, and this is why we'd be paying them. So
yeah, and as we scope out an FTE potential, I think we'll look at some of the other things like the enforcement of the school zone review and that sort of a thing. So we'll make sure that we look at what are the comprehensive aspects of what we're looking for too. But I think it's a really good point is that if people hear from, but all we needed was one more person, it does create a communication challenge of really? That's it? So
yeah, I love that. Thank you. The other thing that I saw with gaps or adjustments is this might get into contracting a little bit, but if we're looking for moving vehicles or impounding vehicles at the very last, necessity, do we need to update our strategy of working with a towing company, and is that kind of a long RFP process that we're going to have to do in conjunction with it? We can't just say that you better pay. There's got to be the enforcement at the end. So what are the goals that you have around our existing towing? I'm assuming we have a relationship with a towing company because we have a lot underneath City Hall. So would that just be expanded? Would we need to go back to the drawing board and yeah, can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, we are thinking about all those factors, and we would definitely go for a RFP process because the future state is going to be different than what we are right now managing the garage. So again, for competitive purpose and to make sure the vendor will meet our goals, it's not just tolling, but it's parking enforcement. So we would definitely issue a competitive process. And again, to be fair, how much would it cost to the vehicle owner if they need to get there and get that vehicle released? So all those would be part of the package.
That's great.
Yeah.
I see our goal, or the goals in the packet, kind of touching on that a little bit.
Yes.
We want to be equitable. We want to make sure that that the stick isn't too sharp, but also it promotes the behavior change that we're looking for. So I see those goals as really being critical to this later contracting phases and going forward. So thank you for outlining those, and excited for a movement.
So if I could answer your other question about the scope of work for this parking enforcement officer or a limited commission officer, as Councilmember Dodd said, there will be spillover effects if we enforce it here. So the parking enforcement officer will also be going to the neighborhoods to make sure there are still people really obeying the parking zone, and if they are not, the officer will be there to enforce the municipal code.
I'd just say that through our goals, it sounds like if we're hoping that this is a holistic thing, maybe this parking enforcer is more of an ambassador, right? Because there are probably some, I'm thinking, if I got an email last week about campers, and there are probably human services connections that we can make. There are probably other issues going on too. So again, if we're going off of these goals, I love them. I think that we should continue, and I'm excited to see how that translates into your future first phase.
That's worth part of the discussion.
Great.
Thank you.
As it often happens, that gave me some ideas. There was I think this has happened a couple of times, and I don't remember the case name, so this is not super helpful, but there was a case that actually went to the state Supreme Court when the city of Seattle towed a truck that was someone's primary residence. And I guess as we go down this path, I think making sure that we do have a human-centered approach when it, I think especially as you get out into the neighborhoods, we might have more of those concerns. So just making sure that that our staff, whether that's the municipal court, whether that's I like the idea of a parking ambassador more than a parking enforcer. I appreciate that. But whatever their title is, that they have the ability to be kind to people who might have had a tough moment versus someone who just could pay to park but chose not to. So I do not doubt that staff will consider that, but I just wanted to put that formally out there. And the other thing is, I know during the retreat, I think it was Deputy Mayor Aldrich, but we talked about better ways to report concerns in the city. I'm wondering if we can loop in reporting parking concerns and street use concerns through, I don't know if it's an app, but I know we talked about an app, but these seem kind of lumped together to me, so joint conversations are happening. You're nodding your head, so you're ahead of me. I appreciate it.
I'll just jump in and say that in looking at the map on slide 6, I'm actually glad to see that there's no effort and there's no proposal here to create paid parking along King County or the KCLS library, because we know that that's sort of a safe parking program that exists in our community, and that there are very kind people who are looking out for folks. And I would not want to say in any kind of like cost generation way, say that should be paid for. Like I'm not like, so I'm glad to see that it doesn't extend that direction. And, I'm really grateful for the human services connection to be brought up here. But an official safe parking program would be a different conversation for a different day. But I do think that that's something worthwhile for future discussions, especially in conjunction with our human services coordinator.
I feel very heard by the recommendations that have come back. And I just wanted to say thank you for that, because it's clear that the work's been very thorough over the past however much time bringing this back to us. The goals look really good to me. Yes, I would like to pursue this. And I've been thinking, because you come down here and there's plenty of parking available, but it's as much for tomorrow as it is today. We have BRT stations opening down here in 2 years. And I don't want our streets to become a park and ride for people that want to hop on the bus. We've got new buildings coming in. With each new apartment building, we've got a couple hundred new residents downtown, which is amazing, which is what we want. But I think it's important just as much to get out ahead of and deal with potential ramifications of other decisions that we're making, just as much as I think it's important to deal with and manage our curb space right now. Yes, just do it. I don't want to do half measures. If we're going to do something, we do it. I appreciate that recommendation as well and agree with that. And also just wanted to call out the bigger curb management piece about loading zones and ride shares and just kind of how we view our curb space as a public utility, and also the piece about supporting the greater goals of the sub area. So I like all of this and just want to say thank you, because it all looks really good and I feel very heard. So thank you.
And thank you for your feedback, but just want to emphasize we are still going through a biennial budget process. And as you have heard last month or so, we are not looking good on the revenue streams. So we'll be coming back to you with a balanced package and perhaps an option for you to consider.
We're going to have to choose this or something else.
That's correct.
Yes,
Just want to
totally
make sure
understand.
that
And
you
we'll
understand
and
it.
we will make that decision when we figure out what that something else is. But this is something that I would like in a vacuum, and I understand that final decision will not be made in a vacuum.
All right.
I do have a question about, I know that you haven't done the cost recovery predictions yet, but I'm wondering, in addition to, tolls and fines that are collected, are you also projecting any changes in sales tax as to Deputy Mayor Emeritus's point around turnover in shopping areas, that there may be increases in sales tax as a result? I'm not sure if that is part of your projection, if it can be.
Yeah, it will. It's very difficult to estimate that, but the increase is going to be very minimal. We just don't generate enough sales activities in this area. We want to, but not because of the parking enforcement.
I'm just going to jump in. I have noticed some, I've only seen it downtown, businesses have put out signs that are like, this street parking spot is for my business. Are those conversations where you'll be following up with people just to help them understand the broader? Okay, cool. Have fun.
I am going to get a trigger finger on this thing. So this is a speak now or forever hold your peace kind of moment. Well, at least until next Tuesday. All right, we can have this conversation after we are adjourned.